could be the last game of the evening, which is something that makes me a little sad.
It does make me a little sad. It's been a lovely evening, but for the potential last time spawning in the bottom right position, currently 1-0 up, we have the green Protoss player. It's Grubby. And his opponent spawning in the bottom left as the blue Terran. From Team Acer, wanting to level this out, wanting to force the ace match, Hydra.
Yeah, very up-and-coming German Terran player, 17 years old, I believe, doing very well for himself, qualifying himself for Challenger League. We are going to see him at least in Challenger League group play, but if he wants to avoid the group play and go straight to Premier League, he's got a tough road ahead of himself. We'll have to win 2 games in a row, and that's no easy feat versus someone with as much pro gaming experience as Grubby.
It's not only that, it's a tough thing even if you're not against someone who's really experienced. Being game down puts all of the pressure on your shoulders. And there's really 2 ways Hydra is going to react to this. On the one hand, he may just go for something super aggressive. That can never be ruled out. I doubt it because he's only just taking 1 gas now, so it's unlikely to be super one-base play orientated. Or the other thing you can do is be really passive and cautious, and that would be trying to force it into the later game. But Grubby, he's got a bit of a window of opportunity here because he can easily take it 2-0 if he wants to, or even if he loses, he's got that ace game as a little bit of a buffer. So I'm really excited to see what Grubby could be throwing out here and whether he will take any risks. This SCV coming to scout across, but all he's going to see is Grubby on 1 gas with 3 probes in him.
Yeah, not too much to see. So a different opener from Grubby than we've seen in the last game. Gonna have to see if that leads to a difference in his overall build. Last game oh, there he goes. He grabs the 2nd gas just a little bit later. Could still be that same build where he gets a mothership core into a Nexus. The SCV is gonna come in here and scout. Grubby starts a Zealot, and he sees the SCV, and seeing that SCV is most likely gonna make him finish that Zealot. Because if you don't see an SCV come in here to scout, you're gonna assume that your opponent wasn't scouting at all. And therefore, you can go for the Nexus without getting a Zealot. But if you go blindly for a Nexus and all of a sudden there's a engineering bay there and you don't have a Zealot, that's trouble.
It's trouble, it's a delay, it's something that you don't want to have to deal with. Anyone who's ever had an expansion blocked, and I'm sure there's lots of you tuning in right now, it is so frustrating. It doesn't ruin your game or anything like that. It's just one of those things where you just sigh and you're just like, oh, now I've got to deal with this. It's like if it starts raining and you don't have an umbrella with you. That's kind of like, oh, it's not going to kill me, but it's just like, ugh. Now I'm going to get a bit damp and it's frustrating. But for the moment, Grubby is not going to have to deal with that. He can start up his Nexus right now. He's got his Mothership Core, which has got a nice little rush over between the dead space of the bases to go and have a little peek at what Hydra has got planned. But all Hydra's doing is getting down a command center, his bunker, and is happy sitting with just a single barracks for the moment.
Yeah, Hydra doing the exact same build as he did in the last game. Switching it up a little bit, getting that Zealot first in case of some kind of engineering bay block that could happen. We do have the SCV out of Hydra still alive. It could go back in for a scouting mission, and that's exactly what it's doing. Will it be able to see that Grubby is once again going for the Stargate? The Stargate, of course, marginally later than it was in last game, because Grubby this time going for a Zealot, Stalker, Sentry before Stargate. Last game he got it a little earlier.
I think this Stargate, though, is somewhat to be expected on this map, and it is going to get scouted out now by that SCV. The Mothership Core was pushed back by those Marines, and it's really safe bet that there's going to be a Stargate on this map, especially from Grubby. He likes going Stargates. There's the rush distance by air, which is really nice. But let's look back to Game 1, okay? Hydra didn't even scout that Stargate, but yet he still kept the Marines up there and moved them out in sync with as the Oracle came in. That's always a bad thing to do. That Oracle got a good number of kills, but for the moment, there's nothing getting created out of that Stargate. But there we go, Oracle on its way. But having been scouted, do you reckon Hydra's just going to preemptively throw down those missile turrets? His engineering bay is nearly done after all.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely thinking that's what he's going to go for, at least in one of his bases. Not really a requirement in both, but he's going to do that anyway. Missile turret's going to go up in the mineral line of his main base, in the mineral line of his natural. So as soon as those two finish up, he can move his Marines back and keep them at the front. And Grubby will not be able to kill 7 workers with this Oracle in this game. I mean, that's really what set him ahead in the last series, killing 7 workers. I believe he was up 45 to 35 workers after that Oracle harass, and that's a pretty big discrepancy.
It is. This Oracle, on its way through though, will it be able to do any damage? Taking a look round, there is a missile turret there, but the Marines are going to come in and really put an end to it. The Oracle going to try and snipe off anything it can en route through. Can utilize this cliff area to jump up and down it, but there's a missile turret at the natural as well. Small area where this Oracle should be able to do a little bit of damage, but good work by Hydra, pulling back his workers just to make sure that they are out of range of the Oracle, and therefore not going to be anywhere near as successful as it was in Game 1.
No successful harassment damage done by the Oracle this time. He was able to kill one or two workers who were constructing a barracks in the middle of nowhere and had no protection of the missile turrets or the Marines nearby. They were basically sent out and took a bit of a risk. Hydra knew that a Oracle could come in, but a single worker or two being killed, that's not really worth it just yet. In comes the Oracle again, snipes a worker, flies out of there, almost dies though. One extra shot from the missile turret would not have killed the Oracle, but would have very closely to killed him.
It would have come very close. There's two Oracles sitting here. Third one on its way over, ready to go for a little bit more potential harassment, but mainly they're stopping any kind of drop play. Phoenix, yes, that is exactly what I meant. I can't believe I didn't say Phoenix there. It's been a long day, I do apologize for that, but yeah, the Phoenix there, mainly to stop any medevac drops that could be coming over. Good map presence, because medevac drops are so powerful on this map, aren't they?
Yeah, they are good, and if you have that squad of 3 or 4 Phoenix, you're going to be shutting down any kind of drop play, and if you catch a medevac in the middle of the air with this many Phoenix, it's going to die so quickly. It is pivotal though for Grubby to kind of keep that a secret. If he wants to be able to catch one of the medevacs in mid-air, he's going to have to hide those Phoenix a little bit. If Hydra would know this many Phoenix are out on the map, he's not even going to attempt to go for a drop. So the sneaky Phoenix are hiding themselves, hoping that they can pick something off in the mid to late game that flies over there.
Yeah, even if they don't manage to pick something off, to be fair, they still deter any drop play, which is good for Grubby, because then he knows he's safe from that, or at least relatively safe from it. For the moment, a little bit of action coming on in the middle, these Marines pushing back a Zealot. Meanwhile, for Grubby, his first Colossus is about to come out. He's got extended thermal lance on its way a bit earlier than he got in the previous game, just to make sure that that's out in due course. Also, Widowmine now joining up with the army. Of course, many Protoss players have nightmares about Widowmines, and these medevacs have managed to sneak their way through, which means Hellbat drops are incoming.
Oh no, the Phoenix were not paying attention as much, not on patrol or any kind of movement, and now we're going to see a lot of probes die in the main base of Grubby. Here come the Hellbats. They already get a decent amount of probe kills. Now focusing on the Nexus. I'm not really sure about that, but Grubby is not focusing on the medevacs immediately. He's actually focusing on
there's a Widowmine here in the natural. Look at this, the Widowmine has bow. There's a lot of Marines there as well. Good numbers of probes getting taken down, Lurlian. Meanwhile, the drop in the main is still ongoing. The Marines at the natural are getting a stupidly high number of kills. 22 workers have gone down here. Photon overcharge triggered by the mothership core, but that Widowmine is still up. Where are all of the observers? They are nowhere to be seen there. And I don't think Grubby actually witnessed that the Widowmine was...
Oh no, they're all in the middle of the map. He's not even moving one of his observers. He has no idea that the Widowmine is there, so we can just do a bit of a countdown. And there he goes. Boom! More probes gonna go down. That was another good amount killed. 10 workers killed now by this Widowmine, who's now a sergeant.
Yep, a Sergeant Widowmine. Meanwhile, the Phoenix getting a lift on a siege tank. That is incredibly comical to look at, but will manage to take it down. So a good little snipe there. But Grubby, he's taken quite a lot of worker losses. 29 have been killed. That Widowmine...
He's still not moving his observers. The Widowmine is going to fire again. Oh, he pulls his probes. Good. That's one way to deal with it.
It is one way to deal with it, but of course, not the best way. It's best to get rid of it. Another kill, 2 kills, 12 kills now on that Widowmine. This is all good times. The Hellbat's also coming in the probes. Luckily, pull back just in time. Really close there. The Phoenix will shut down these medevacs now, though.
Yeah, even with a boost, you're not going to be able to outrun Phoenix for that long. Actually, the Phoenix get pulled back to deal with whatever there is to deal with. There's a few Hellbats there that they lift up, but the medevacs might be able to get out of here. Looks like Hydra has forgotten about them a little bit.
And, well, that Widowmine, it had nice times. Let's face it, that Widowmine was probably pretty proud of himself. Looking at the worker count now, Hydra is at 62 SCVs to 42 probes. Plus 3 mules, that puts him a mile ahead economically. Really good spot. Upgrades, though, are in Grubby's favour. Currently 1-1 with 2-2 already started before any upgrades on the way for Hydra. Another medevac is going to go down. This is where the Phoenix are becoming a bit more cost effective, keeping that medevac count really low. There's currently no medevacs on the field, Lurlian, which doesn't really matter because it's a meching Terran.
Yeah. But having a few medevacs is not that bad of a thing when you have this many hellbats. I mean, you can still heal the hellbats with a few of the medevacs. So keeping 2, 3, 4 medevacs alive is definitely going to help you. So these Phoenix have done a good job reducing the medevac count. Are we going to see many more workers killed here? Not that many. The entire air armada of Grubby, which is actually not that impressive, only 5 air units, are going to be able to get out of there alive. And Grubby needs to start thinking about what risk can I take to get back in this game. Am I going to go for an attack? Am I going to expand to a third? He has to do something soon, because the longer he does nothing, he will be falling behind further and further behind Hydra, who's been up in by about 15 to 20 workers for the last few minutes.
Now, what Grubby seems to be doing is he's got his robotics, a second robotics facility on its way down. He's going to start producing a lot more Immortals, ready to deal with this mech composition that Hydra's throwing at him. And that's fine, it works for a while, but the one thing that I really feel adds a lot to this is getting a couple of ghosts into the composition into the later stages just to really help. Templar Archives also coming down here for Grubby now. He has got charge as well as 2-2 finishing up. The upgrades for Hydra, he's only just finished +1 vehicle weapons. Big upgrade advantage, and Grubby's also sneaking his way up over the top of the map. I like these sneaky little moves, Lurlian. It's always good to see.
Yeah, I love players trying to be sneaky snakes and avoid vision of their opponent and hit them somewhere where they do not expect. But this Hellbat is going to find out the hard way that this is where Grubby was trying to be sneaky. So Grubby's going to come from an angle that Hydra was not expecting, but I still think he should be fine in defending here. There was a revelation down on some of the units, so he did have an idea of where they were positioned.
And yeah, if he does get in a nice position, Hydra won't be able to deal with this force too effectively. But Grubby just sitting up here, even if he comes in, really any angle he comes in from is going to be quite a tough one for him, just because these tanks, but the tanks all on siege. Okay, there's a Zealot at the watchtower. If Grubby sees this force move across, he's going to push straight in with his army, and that is what he's getting ready to do, moving forward. And now suddenly Hydra having to come back, full retreat. This is delaying a little bit more, and that's really important for Grubby. It's buying him more time, and the more time he gets, considering Hydra is nearly maxed out, any more time Grubby gets, he gets more units out and has a better chance in the next engagement.
That's right. Hydra is not going to wait for anything, though. He's just going to move out. He's like, okay, want a base trade? Let's do it. And that's what he's poising to do right now. The Oracle goes in, does one last revelation to keep track of the army movements. Hydra's up by 60 to 70 supply as Grubby is attacking into the natural. He's even struggling to win this battle. I don't think Grubby has any chance in this game.
No, there's just so many units for Hydra. He's ahead in supply massively. There really isn't anything to defend apart from a couple of High Templar. The Storms, yes, can buy him some time. Grubby, with his attacking force though, has got hardly anything. He'd have to do an absolute miracle hold. The Storms are good though, Lurlian.
Wow, they're really good, but the Storms have now run out. There's maybe one more in store in just a few seconds. The Immortal's doing some good damage. Actually doing really good damage, but there's still 4 siege tanks and some Thors alive in the background. The Vikings are still flying overhead. They could land. In the meantime, the army for Grubby has been ever decreasing. There's about 2 Colossi and 3 Stalkers left. That's his entire army right now. And Grubby's falling down in supply quite heavily. Only at 92 right now. Losing his natural. Does have a third base. Mining at the top. So maybe he can make something work with another Immortal with some additional Zealots that he has warped into his main base. He's getting a Void Ray. But with this many Vikings, I don't think a Void Ray is going to be the answer to his problems.
I don't think it will either, Lurlian. There's those 2 Thors out. They are in high impact payload mode, so they will deal a lot of damage to that. There's so many Vikings as well. And now Grubby losing that final Immortal in his main base. He is trying to push through as well in a bit of a counter-attack, but there's just so many more units here for Hydra right now. Grubby, he's behind in supply. These 2 Colossi desperately trying to deal some damage, but he's losing all of his production capabilities. With that, it's just a matter of time, in my opinion, unless Grubby does something absolutely spectacular.
Siege tanks pop out, but they pretty much die instantly because the Colossi have so much damage and outrange, well, not outrange the siege tanks, but they do not have enough time to get into siege mode to be able to outrange them. The other way around, one siege tank is getting into siege mode but was lifted. The SEV is not trying to go at this Colossi. 2 siege tanks pop out, and that's going to be the end of the life of that Colossus, and that should be the end of the life of Grubby in this game. He's got no production left, trying to re-establish some gateways at his third base and trying to take a 4th. He's not giving up. He's not going out without a fight.
Well, even if he does go out, it's not all over, because this is, of course, game 2 of a best of 3. Grubby is 1-0 up, so Hydra would only be leveling this out, which would be really, really good. I don't think Grubby does have much more he can throw here. He's lost all of his tech pretty much. He's got 1 Templar Archives, 1 Robotics Facility, and 1 Gateway remaining. Compare that to what Hydra's got. He's cleaned out the force in his main. He's still mining quite happy. He's still got most of his production. He's got a lot of minerals remaining. And he's just going to go around and clear out. He's also got this planetary fortress sitting outside Grubby's old natural. Things are looking pretty good for the Terran in this situation.
Yeah, that planetary fortress there is pretty random. There's a missile turret now going up to protect his SCVs there. Grubby is continuing to expand his tech. He's got a Templar Archive at the other side of the map. He's getting a Nexus there. This is a crazy game. Does Hydra have any idea? Yes, he does know about that 3rd base, but he has no idea about the, well, I'm just going to call it the 4th and the 5th base that Grubby's hiding at the top of the map.
Yeah, they're just slowly going to, like, slide around the map until they switch position. So Grubby's going to end up on the left and Hydra's going to end up on the right. But yeah, these storms, they're going to try and go down. But the big thing, and this is really the important number, army supply. Hydra currently at 70, Grubby at 32. That's a fairly substantial difference, Lurlian, and means that Hydra, as he just starts marching his way around, should be able to engage. But the problem is he's got a lot of supply tied up in those Vikings, which aren't that beneficial when there is only 2 Phoenix in the air and no Colossi.
Oh, well, the 2 Phoenix that were in the air are no longer in the air. The Vikings landing in a storm might lose one of them. The Thors have been softened up a little bit. We've got some Zealots. We've got an Immortal. Is Grubby going to be able to do it? That would be so crazy. Another storm goes down on the Thors, and the probes get pulled. Here comes Grubby for his last attempt. Amazing storms go down, and he is going to be able to clean this up, and he's actually equalizing the supplies a little bit. He has the bases. He's re-establishing his economy. Hydra has not won this game yet.
No, he hasn't, and I think he overcommitted himself there quite considerably, actually. If he moved back and just really turtled up a bit, he was in an okay spot. He destroyed all of Grubby's production capabilities. This planetary fortress will now fall to those Zealots, and Grubby can start moving across. That Immortal really going to start helping. He's got a good number of Zealots, but these tanks, these Marines, these Hellbats, it's a nice force. It's considerably larger than that of Grubby's. The Hellbats are going to really do nicely against those Zealots. And there's no storms either, which have been the saving grace of the Protoss in this game so far.
Yeah, the storms are everything that is keeping Grubby in this game right now. How many Templar does he have left out on the field? 9. So there's storms everywhere. How is he going to hit them? Oh, this Templar wants to get one down. Hits a siege tank with a little bit of damage, but only 20 damage done. So not the best storm that he could hope for there. There's 3 more storms, 4 more storms. More Archons are being morphed. The Zealots are looking quite good. Remember, the upgrades are really good for Grubby. 3-2 versus the mech, only 1-0.
That is a big upgrade advantage for Grubby. Also, Grubby's got that top left base that Hydra is completely unbeknowing of. He has no clue that that is up there, and therefore he's just getting that extra trickle of income, that extra trickle of production with those 2 gateways. Admittedly, there's only 3 probes there, but it's better than nothing. But Hydra, he's starting to move forward. He's trying to knock out this top right base, and he's ever creeping close up with those siege tanks.
I think Grubby might actually do this. This army is so small. I think Grubby could just, well, a move is a difficult thing to say, but he could definitely take this out if he gets some good storms and gets a good engagement. The siege tanks are now unsieged. More reinforcements have joined up for Hydra. And here goes Grubby. He's going for broke. The storms are hitting decently. The Zealots are doing so much damage with their upgrades, but not quite enough. Grubby is being pushed back by Acer Hydra. Grubby, not the best engagement that he was hoping for there. The storms not doing as much damage as they did before. The Zealots melted before they could really engage the siege tanks. The siege tanks, even though they're down in upgrades, they still have a lot of damage.
It is. The storms have been great for Grubby, but the problem is there's just still so much stuff here for Hydra. He's resecured his natural base. This small group will now get taken out, but the medevacs, they pick it up, they boost away to fight yet another day. But Voidways on the way for Grubby. They're going to actually be quite beneficial here because the Thor count down to only 1. There are 13 Marines, but they need to be quite careful. Looking back for Hydra though, he has still got quite a sizable lead in the army supply, but it's not as much as it has been this game. So there is still hope for Grubby at the moment. 2 Archons going down though is definitely not what you want in this sort of situation. Every unit counts, especially expensive ones like that. The Immortal also getting chased out. Snipes going on the High Templar, and that may just be the nail in the coffin there, to be honest, Lurlian. Hydra, he's pushing forward and he's pushing hard.
the Void Rays. Are they going to be able to make the difference? How much anti-air do we have here? Wow, that's a lot of Marines. 12 Marines and a Thor. That's a lot of anti-air that he's got here. The Siege Tank sieging up. The Zealots melt to the Hellbats and the Marines DPS. The Void Rays, do they have enough power? No, they do not. The last Void Rays get taken out. And even though Grubby has that hidden base in the top left, it's not looking good for him right now. He's trying to evacuate some of his probes back to that base on the right. Losing that Nexus there. Hydra has now doubled the supply of Grubby.
He is, and that's a good way ahead, being double the supply. The Marines taking out everything. The Void Ray does fall. That leaves the army supply for Grubby just down to 22 to 71 of Hydra. He's lost that Nexus. That top left base is still being relatively helpful, but there's hardly any probes there. There's in grand total 6 probes up that top left base, so not much income being generated. It's this base to the right. It is the last stand for Grubby. And Hydra, he's just constantly producing more and more. The next wave of reinforcements are ready to come over, and I don't see Grubby holding. He's done such a fantastic job holding on this long, but he just doesn't have...
He needs to hold on a little while longer. Just hold on another 2-3 minutes, and Hydra will be mined out. He's got 4 mineral patches at his third, and 2 mineral patches at his natural. So Hydra is going to be down to 0 income in a little while, and I know the favors are heavily favoring Hydra right now because he's got so much of a big army, was able to win the last few engagements. But, a big but, if Hydra sits back too much and plays too passively, it might be possible.
It may be possible. It is a big maybe, but I hold out hope for Grubby. He is at half the supply of Hydra still, and Grubby is trying to retake his natural. Unfortunately, this will get spotted. He needs to get the cancel on that, because if he... Yeah, there we go. I was going to say, if he didn't get the cancel, that would be terrible, because he is rather low on resources. But now this mech force is just going to start creeping forward. If that top left base got spotted by Hydra, Grubby would be in a much worse position. It is helping quite considerably, but it still hasn't been spotted, which is just amazing.
It could be spotted right now, but Hydra first is going to focus his attention on this attack. There's just so much Terran stuff. GG goes down.